Nicer in Gander. Robbie! Mom's voice is far away, and I don't care. I'm supposed to be back before Dad gets home, but nobody told me when he's back, so how do I know? Dad always says that everything that lives here becomes stuck. It's like roots grow from your feet. They hold you to the ground, grinding your souls into the dirt. It's not gravity that keeps people here, he says. It's Stockholm Syndrome, which is when you loves what you hates. That makes no sense. But he says it's hard to stay, impossible to leave, because you loves it. That do make sense. That's why I'm not going. His brown eyes got all wet when he said that. Then he hammered the sold sign on the house. If he was not a man, I bet he'd have cried. Not Mom, though. She got the house packed in boxes the minute the sold sign went up. Time to get into Gander out of it, she said yesterday. No reason to stay. Nothing for youngsters here no more. I'm across the meadow like a rabbit. The grass flicks across my bare legs like little whips. Tiny bugs nip at my ankles, persistent, returning to chew no matter how much they get brushed away. My sneakers suck into the wet ground and I veer left towards the path, out of the swampy part of the garden. The root is worn and firm, flecks of stone pressed into the twisty trail. Grass don't grow well in this spot, rubbed off by a century of footsteps. I clamber up Bob's Hill and tear over to the flat spot. My toes touch the edge of the indentation where my grandmother's garden once grew. It circles around, the grass still longer in the spot where she didn't plant because of the beothics buried there. My breath comes in spurts. I bend over, hands on my knees to catch it. When I grab hold of a bunch of dandelions, the shards of the greenest blades cut my skin. I lick my palm. The metallic taste of blood blends with the green flavor of the grass and sour of bumblebee flowers. A bee grazes my cheek. The truck's horn bumps in the distance. Dad's got her loaded up with everything he can fit. They're small down there, like Emmett's, the two of 'em. Robbie! Dad's voice is followed by Mom's, like a ghost. Woo-hoo, she calls. I look out across to the point. They says Cecil Porter moved his house in from the point to where it is now because the will let the horse out. His house is empty now. Windows barred up. I miss Mrs. Nancy. She wrote me first when they went away. But lately there's no point because we might be gone when the mail comes. Mom said ghosts is too much to take, so nobody goes over on the point. Ever. Except for old Ralph, but he's crazy and has fits and curses. The great big sky is as blue as a robin's egg when I back up a couple steps from the decorated old beothic grave and solemnly pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I recite the entire thing because I don't know any Indian prayers. Probably should have learned some. I shiver and turn fast. No ghost behind me, but there could have been. I sneak down the hill and squat behind the cellar. They're looking for you. I jump. It's Austin from down Tickle. One hand with the smoke, another tucked in his pocket. Freckles raging red in the sun. You leaving? Not me. I'm not going. Well, we'm going next Friday. He blows out a big puff. Gander? I ask. Buckins. Dad is going into the mines. Gold? I thinks there's gold. He stops on the butt, stuffs his hands in his pocket, and goes on cutting across the meadow. I head towards the house, but it is empty. My stomach makes noises. I grab a book and plop on the old Davenport to wait. We got a new couch now, as Mom calls it, coming from a nice shop in Gander. Wonder if couches is nicer than Davenport's. It's on payments, but Dad expects to be able to keep all that in line. This morning I asked Mom if she was taking the curtains. No, they don't fit in the new place. Reg Watkins is gone, Dad said then. Dead? I asked over the top of my book. Dad laughed. Moved to St. John's. I didn't think it was funny. Old Guy Windsor died that one time. I helped Dad when he cleaned up the body. Well, I watched and handed him stuff, but I never touched it. I stood in a corner while he straightened him out in the wooden box shipped from in around Lewisport or somewhere. He looked the same, but dead. Someone says death is a part of life, Dad said that day. But I thinks life is a part of death because we're always dying from the start of it. And lots can't be bothered to live anyway. I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds about right. I remembers a live guy, big and strong, his booming voice in the garden sawing up wood with a bucksaw. He'd be singing, "Are you digging 'em, Dillon? Are you digging 'em deep? Are you piling 'em, Dillon, in a great big heap?" And he'd heave a junk on the pile. Old church, new cemetery, long hymns, a hole in the ground. 1976, and more of us in the dirt than out now, Ed said on his way home from Guy's funeral. "Are you digging 'em, Dillon?" I sang to him. Mom and Dad are coming up the path. Mom sounds funny, like she gets when Dad's boat is the last one coming in, walking back and forth, stopping to look at the water with night coming on, as if her eyes could make boats come in the dark. School shut down in June, and I won't be going back. Dad says the ones left are the last ones. I suppose it's good I won't be one of those. A long time ago, when I was 7, Dad and Uncle John said we could go to the cod trap, just the 5 of us, and we better not be jinkers. That morning we darted down to the wharf, Mom following, yanking winter hoods over our heads, shoving cuffs on our hands, nerves gone, rubbed raw that we all be drowned out there. Orders barked. "Don't lean over the side, stay out of the way, stay in the boat." Like we're going to climb out of the boat. Uncle John laughed and made fun. "Haven't lost nor one yet, missus," he said. Uncle James was quiet. He don't talk to nobody, especially not women. The skiff was big, the one we were in. Dad followed behind in the small skiff, hunt and tow. Uncle John and Uncle James are not our uncles. But they live next door, so they are anyway. Not a water haul that day. No, sir. A wonderful catch. We're not jinkers, and the cod were hauled in, dip nets dripping, salt water over our heads, great big fish scooped into the hold, and gangplanks shifted into place. Right then, boat tipped to one side to haul the trap. Would be a good time, with the gunnels near the edge of the water, to step off. Could stand on the cuddy, lift one boot over, and just walk right into it. I don't, but being told not to made me think about it. The tick of the engine that day brought us home. Then prongs and blood and splitting and salting took over, and we're in the way, so perhaps there'll be a game of ball. The truck door slams memory away. They're coming in the front, so I clamber out the back and hide behind the copy house Jenny got from Santa Claus, that Mom ordered from the Simpson Sears catalog. It's rusty and the door sticks on the oven, but she can still cook and bake in the real pretend stove. I likes it too, and she lets me play, though Dad says 'tis girl stuff. It's better in the winter, though. When you mixes sawdust with clammy snow and pats it in a bucket, then sprinkles sawdust on top, it's like real coconut cake, honest to God. "No, you can't take that," Mom snapped when Jenny asked. "Too old and rusty for the new place." She's always crooked these days. I suppose she'll be nicer in Gander. There is a Duncan Hines cake mix box in the pretend cupboard. It was brought down to Sim's shop. Mr. Sims closed down, so no more down the shop on Saturday to things all wrapped up in brown paper in boxes, tied with thick twine. Cheese and bologna chopped off and weighed in the scale. The brown paper was used to cover our books. One time Mrs. White was there with her new baby, and he got weighed right after the cheese. He growed a whole pound since he was born. He was cute and small like a wrinkled doll, legs flailing, tucked back in the blanket, bottle of carnation shook and give to him. "Weigh some baby, weigh some bologna, all the same, what odds? Everybody happy," Dad said that day. Common candy cinched in a small brown paper bag was Mom's treat for us, and she doled them out every day. I always picked the white one. I liked them the best, the glassy ones, not the solid ones. Some good. The house is sold to a fuller, wants to fish off and on for fun. Dad said if he gives it up, he was giving it all up. Willow comes crawling around my leg. We got her from Dad's Uncle Eli for Easter. Dad said she can go with us. She didn't have kittens yet, and Dad hopes she don't. We calls her Pussy Willow because Lucy Maud Montgomery called her cat that, and we watched it on the CBC. Dad says she can get fixed in Gander, and I wonder where she's broke to. I rubbed her all over, but couldn't see any cracks or marks. The sunset is a few hours away, but a red sky is already stretching across the west, streaks of pink and purple making the water all colors, like melted wax from a box of Crayolas left on the dash of the old Impala too long. I shouldn't have done that. Stunned, Mom said when she saw that mess. I wanted to cry, but no, I'd got a swipe across the head for it. A blade of grass pressed between my thumbs. I blow a loud squawk that makes the cat jump. Blowing grass is something I learned this year. Dad showed me how to do it while he was carving a whistle pipe for me out of a nice piece of alder. Don't have the whistle anymore. He likes making them and needles to fix the nets with, too. What if there's ne'er alder in Gander? Makes me remember what Dad said about why we got to move. School shuts down with ne'er a youngster. Plant shuts down with ne'er a fish. Dories and punts all rot into the same dirt where carrots and potatoes have been hauled out forever. We'm the last ones like these fish are. That's what he said. Then he flipped over the rounders. Why? I'd ask, and he'd scratched his chin. They figured out ways to catch more and more fish, and that means less and less in the water for the next year. The last of the fish is the last of us. I thought a lot about that. It's like when we sorted Caitlin, throwing away the dicks. All them dead dicks floating around the boat in the thousands, swelling, sinking to the bottom, rotting, nippers biting on us, blue-arsed flies pitching on us. One time Dad told me the insides of fish is awful. Not awful like I wrote in my paper for Mr. Brown, the English teacher. He didn't notice it, but Dad did. He's smarter than the teachers anyway. I tell him I think the innards of fish is awful either way, and he laughs and says, "You're right, my son." Dad's got water pups on his hands from salt water. Wrapped in gauze, he suffered the itching, rubbed raw, and still he went out off in the boat, hauling nets, itching forgotten until he was home, and it started in again. "Torture," he'd say, rubbing white ointment from the nurse on it. "Won't have water pups in Gander," Mom said. "No, just housemaids' knees," he laughed, but it don't sound funny. Dad got a job in Gander at the school as a janitor. Don't have to worry no more. "Robbie!" Mom charges towards me and grabs me by the arm, lifts me clear in the air and onto the bridge. She brings her hand down. Smack! "Dad!" I scream. He rushes forward, eyes full of the same damp as when he nailed the sold sign on. "I told you not to go away," Mom says. "I didn't. I've been here." Mom lifts her hand again, but Dad grabs it. "He's found now." "He needs a good lacing," Mom says, vicious. "'Tis time to eat." "No, we'll miss the ferry. Go in. Be fast." She misses with the swat she makes at my head. Dad is last out after. He turns the key and leaves it in the door, like you would. I climb in the truck fast as I can on the driver's side and sits by Jenny between Mom and Dad. "I'm squat," Jenny says. "Stop your bloody whining," Mom says. The truck pulls out. Mom stares straight ahead. She's that mad she can't even look at me. Jenny sobs and Mom swipes her across the head and says, "Don't be foolish." Jenny stops, siphons air in. Then right when we get to the top of Harbor Hill, Mom reaches out and touches my hair, stroking her fingers down over my scalp. The truck rolls over the gravel road, a fly across the dash. The sun dips in the far western sky, streaks of red shoot off from it like fire. The water is flat like a big broad skipping rock, and the sun is reflected in it. I ache as if I'd been pipped like a squid. I try to make it go away, fill it up with words. "It's going to be nicer in Gander," I say. "Yes," Dad agrees. Mom starts to cry.